I do wonder if Cam's absence has made Bill say, let's take a few more days. Let me ask Eric Mangini, friend of the show, friend of FS1, former Patriots defensive coordinator, won a handful of Super Bowls there, former NFL head coach. You guys know all this. Do you think Bill, at this point, 16 days before their first game, is dead set on who his quarterback is, barring injury or absence? Or do you think it could still be up in the air?
I don't believe it's dead set on who it is. I do agree that he's not going to tell anybody who it is until the last possible moment. I would imagine that Cam had a significant lead, but when you go through this process, especially with a young quarterback, and if you're seeing significant jumps week in and week out, especially in the passing game where Cam struggled so heavily last year, it's got to make you start thinking about what are the possibilities and what would it mean to trade off the veteran versus the rookie. And I don't think the experience that we've had over the past few days where Cam's out because of COVID-related protocols helps. Those things are killer because you're looking for reliability, you're looking for consistency, you're looking for accountability from all your players, and especially in that environment. I was trying to think, Nick, of who the last rookie that Bill started at quarterback, and the only guy I can remember was Eric Zier back in 1995, and that didn't go very well. I think he went 1-3, had 4 TDs and 9 picks, and having that experience, look, those things don't go away, and starting rookie quarterbacks, typically you need to live with a pretty significant learning curve and the bumps that go along with that. But if you're looking at it from a progress standpoint, from a growth standpoint, it sounds like Mac Jones is showing a lot of both of those things, which to me makes it a harder decision than it would going into this for sure. For
sure. So I want to talk a little bit about the NFC East here, but before I'm going to tell the audience something they know about you and something they might not know about you. The audience knows you are a defensive coach, that you're a defensive coordinator. That's, you know what I mean, where you played defense in college and you're a defensive coach. What they might not know about you, and it kind of is a little off-brand, I think, but I know this about you, you are really into the smart numbers, the analytics. You don't dismiss them. You know, you study them. You try to always be learning. You are always learning about kind of the new ways to look at football. And a lot of the smarter numbers or new analytics are telling you it's not a third special teams, a third defense, a third offense. And it's not, if you remove special teams, 50% defense, 50% offense. It's closer to like 75% offense, 25% defense in the modern NFL. The reason I bring that up is when, early 2000s, it's like, hey, Ravens, go win the Super Bowl. Great defense, mediocre at best offense. Your guys' first year winning the Super Bowl. I know everyone thinks of it with Brady. You guys were a defensive team. You won the Super Bowl because you held the greatest offense, or one of them in NFL history, to 13 points, 14 points in the Super Bowl. The Bucs then followed that model, right? So in the NFC East, you have Washington. Washington might be the best defense in football. And then a not even mediocre offense. Do you think in today's NFL, you can, forget win a Super Bowl, you can win double-digit games with that model? Great defense, but not even an average offense.
Well, this morning when we talked about Tom Brady and his impact, the thing I believe you kept coming back to, Nick, was how good their defense played. And the Bucs had a really good defense. They were 6th overall in total defense. They were 6th in turnovers. They were number 1 against the run. So I don't think you can discount the impact that defenses have, especially later in the season. And then it's factoring in how big a difference is there between your defense and the opponent's defense. And that's a pretty significant gap when you look at Dallas versus Washington. So how much better is Dallas's offense going to have to play to offset that gap, and how disruptive can Washington be on a week-to-week basis? I believe in today's NFL, if you've got a quarterback that can manage things and can allow your defense to have the impact that they potentially can, then anything's possible, especially in that division. And you look at Dallas, what are they going to be? Is it going to be the Dak Prescott throwing the ball type offense, or are they going to go back to what has worked, what worked best for them when they went 13-3 and they were number 4 or number 1 in carries, and you can get caught up, especially a team like Dallas and in a market like that, with justifying a big contract, with Dak feeling like he has to justify the big contract. You've got those offensive weapons at wide receiver, feeling that you need to do that, and lose sight of what's
Coach,
important.
let me jump in.
Figure out how to win a game.
Hold on. Right, but do you think that, because I look at that, the Dak's rookie year is what you're talking about. They're 13-3, and he had 26 touchdowns, I think, and 4 interceptions. Maybe I thought it was maybe the best year of his career. But the difference there is they don't have that same offensive line, and they have the same running back as far as it's the same human being. But Zeke is not the same guy he was coming out of Ohio State. Like, do you think if they said, we're going to do that game plan, do you think they can? Like, do you think that they have the ability to do that anymore?
Well, they've gotten some parts back on their offensive line, and they're still a pretty good offensive line. And you could look at the flip side of that. How many times do you want him to go back and pass if you feel like the offensive line is a liability? And the one thing that running the ball does, even if you're not getting 5 yards a carry, 4.5 yards, if your numbers aren't impressive, it still allows you to slow down the pass rush. It allows you to build off of play action. It allows you to do so many different things when you have a commitment to the running game that the teams that won't commit to it can't. And the last thing you want to do against the Redskins or against the Washington football team is be in a situation where you're dropping back to pass 35, 40 times a game with that type of pass rush. It's a terrible spot to be in.
All right, so people tell the audience another thing they might not know. Coach Mangini still calls Cleveland home. He was nice enough to, after my pal Odell Beckham got traded there, I hooked him up. Coach showed him some houses, some neighborhoods. Odell ended up not buying the house next to Coach, as I suggested he do so. And so there's obviously a fond spot in your heart for the Cleveland Browns. I heard a scurrilous rumor that you think the Browns might be able to beat the Chiefs in week 1, which is really odd because the Chiefs are obviously going to go undefeated. But so if you lose week 1, you can't go undefeated. But so tell me it's not true. Tell me that's not something you think is on the board here.
It's absolutely true. It's absolutely on the board. And the fact that it's a 6-point line to me is amazing. And here's why. The Browns had a terrible opener last year. But when you look at that situation, it's a new head coach. It's COVID. They're playing the Ravens to start the season. They're in Baltimore. Everything that could possibly be against them is against them. And now you fast forward a year. They had the success that they had. They're going to have, it looks like, a healthy Odell back. They've got a significant amount of offensive weapons. When you've got 2 running backs that either guy that you put in can break open the game or could control a game, and Baker Mayfield's developed. Baker Mayfield matured. And my favorite thing about Cleveland this year is that we're not talking about all the other stuff.
Nobody's
we're not talking about
I knew it.
We're not right. We're not talking about playoffs. We're not talking about this guy said something bad about me on Twitter. Yep. All those things, which is a real sign of organizational and team maturity, and that's personified by the way that Baker's been. And then you look at Alex Van Pelt's comments today about Baker's growth and being further along on footwork. Baker talking about being able to process things differently because he's not just learning the system, he really understands the system. I mean, those jumps are real, and this team is real, and they brought it down to the wire last time. I could see this being a sad day for you opening day.
Well, here's the thing. If anyone's going to beat the Chiefs, I would prefer it be a team with Baker Mayfield, Odell Beckham Jr. I get to come on this show with Colin out there. He's on here. He's all sad. So, it would be – I would prefer no one beat the Chiefs. But if anyone has to, the Browns, I guess I'm good with it. One other thing before you go.
You say that right now. You say that right now, but you will be in such a funk if that happens. It'll take you, a good 4 or 5 days to crawl out of that.
That's probably true. As opposed to the 2, 4, 5 months it took me to crawl out of the Super Bowl hangover, which is I'm still dealing with, still having bad dreams about. Do you think you wouldn't, if you were running the Browns or the Ravens, give either of those guys a new deal before this year, would you? Because Josh Allen, same draft class, he got the massive new deal. You'd want to make Baker and Lamar both play one more season before you extended them, correct?
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes is an outlier, and it took me a while to say that, and we've just seen this play out over and over and over again, where you rush to give somebody a new contract, and then you're the Eagles and you're sitting on $34 million worth of dead money, or you're the Rams and you're sitting on $24 million in dead money. And there's no reason to do that. Patrick Mahomes has shown that he's going to be able to compete for a championship year after year. And when you look at the other two situations, how much growth is Lamar going to have, and especially growth in the passing game, and what's that going to look like this year versus what it's been, and why go ahead and add the money to the contract now? When you can see you still have a fifth-year option too. I mean, that's another element to this. And with Baker, I've been impressed with his maturity. But just like we talked about with Josh Allen, let's see it for more than a year. Let's see whether or not it's really the way that it's going to be, or whether it's some sort of blip in the radar screen or outlier.
Or if it's sustainable.
Before you go ahead and do that.
Of course.
Yeah. Is it sustainable?
And listen, I think is it sustainable? I think the assumption was that all three of these guys would get new deals before the year started. Josh Allen's gotten his. We're now 2 weeks and 2 days away from the year starting, or I guess 13 days away from the year starting, between the Bucs and the Cowboys. I think it's in play one or both of the other two do not get the new deal early, and that they have to sing for their supper for one more season. Coach Eric Mangini, have a wonderful weekend. Tell Odell I say hi at the barbecue, and I'll talk to you later, my friend.
Awesome, Nick. I'll talk to you soon.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd, or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.